Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hi, I'm Kim, an adoptee, a former foster youth, hairstylist, salon owner, breast cancer, and complex trauma survivor. So join us, pull up a chair, in this no sugarcoating, no holding back, honest conversation about healing and success. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 14 of the Survivor's Chair podcast. I am your host, Kim Russell. We're talking everything trauma, just some real life stories about real people, the struggles, the triumphs, all of it. I'm here today because I'm going to talk about real stuff. I usually have this podcast out on Monday mornings, and today is Tuesday, and I'm recording it. So I'm late this week, and I'm late because of choice. Over the weekend, I tried to record this podcast like 3 times, and the Wi-Fi kicked out. To one point, I had a half an hour recorded. 15 minutes of it had no sound because of the Wi-Fi dropping. So I said, you know what? You need to take a step back, and maybe that's not what you're supposed to talk about today, and just reevaluate. So I took a few days to think about it. And part of me is thinking that I will do the podcast every other week. And part of me struggles with being consistent and showing up for people every week. So that is something that I'm grappling with right at the moment, because this is more work than I thought it was going to be. I find a topic that I want to talk about, and, I really want to talk about things in layman's terms. I want people to understand trauma. I want people to understand that they're not alone, and there's so many of us out there that feel the same way, but we just don't talk about it. So I want to talk about all the things that nobody wants to talk about. Maybe I'm crazy. So I take the time to write out the episode because writing to me is a part of clearing my mind and finding clarity and all of those things. That's why I journal too. And so it takes a long time to write it out and then record it and edit it. And I think the other thing that I have going on right at the moment is I'm working on my book, this book that is 5.5 years in the making. And I'm now working with a book coach every single week. So we meet every week, and I'm writing a chapter a week. And I had the book written, like it was done, I thought, but in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't done. There was still more. And once my cancer journey was over, well, I'm going to rephrase that because we're going to talk about that today too. Your cancer journey is never over. The worst of your cancer journey is when the treatment stops. And I'll get to that afterwards. So anyways, I'm working with this coach every week, and she's helping me structure the book in a way that's going to be really great for the reader to read it. So I actually have to write new stories that weren't going to be in the book, but, her kind of digging into me. And she's like, do you have anything that you can associate with this time in your life? And I'm like, yeah, this happened, da, da, da. And she's like, that's a great story. That ties in beautifully. Well, that story is not written. As she says to me, the problem is I have so much material. I'm meeting with her every week, and within that week, I'm writing a chapter, which really isn't enough time to write a chapter, even though part of it is already written. But to write a whole new section in a week is it's just impossible, because when you write something, you're writing it 10 times to get to really that depth of what it needs to be for the reader. So that's been weighing heavy, and I haven't been able to give that as much time. And then, I was feeling stressed about the podcast, like making sure I show up for people, making sure I'm here, making sure I'm consistent. And consistency can mean multiple different things, right? So I have to figure out what part of me is trying to please the listener and put my own needs aside, which, don't we talk about that in this podcast all the time? People pleasing, afraid of not being liked, afraid of being abandoned, like still my core wounds, and they still show up all the time. but it's recognizing them, being aware of them, and then figuring out where they're coming from. So my thing is, if I do the podcast every other week, then my fear is that people are going to forget about me. They're going to forget about the podcast. It's not going to be successful. It's, all the things. I know that's not true. I know it's the story I'm telling myself. So I spent the last couple of days trying to work through that a little bit. And I do think right now it's best to do the podcast every other week. So I have the time to put into my book, and I have the time for myself, because that's really important too. After this whole cancer debacle, is just making sure I have space for me, my own personal needs, my healing pieces that I need to do, whether that's just sitting on my dock in Maine for the day, whatever that is. So moving forward, the podcast is going to be every other week. And if I find myself in a place that feels good to do it every week again, then I will do that. I'm very excited that I'm going to start bringing some guests on. I have the first guest booked, not the date that the podcast is going to air, but I have them booked for their podcast interview, and I'm very excited about that. This is a woman who's been more than supportive of me and my journey in all areas. Amazing. The people you hang out with make a difference. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm so blessed to have this woman in my life. And the other thing that I want to talk about, because this is the real part of everything, and like I said, the cancer journey is not over when the treatment ends, which is what the majority of people think. So this is hopefully going to be helpful for you if you have friends that are going through cancer or anything challenging in life. I don't think it really has to just do with cancer, because anything traumatic. So cancer is just another trauma in your life. And I'll speak from my own experience. When you're in it, you're thrown in it so fast with the doctors and with appointments and everything that needs to be done in such a short amount of time. It's unbelievable. It's so overwhelming. You have no information. You can't make sense of any of it. You're just going through the motions. Do this, be here, do this. We're going to do this test, this test, this test. This is when your treatment's going to start. This is surgery. You're going to meet with all these people and da 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 da. You don't have time to even breathe. And like I said, overwhelming is an understatement for anybody who is going through it. And I don't care if you're stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, it's all scary. And that's the thing, is you are in pure fear. So not only did I have that going on in my life, but I also had the trauma of taking care of my mother with Alzheimer's dementia by myself. She was still in her apartment. So I had to be there every day with her, try to figure out where to put her. She had fallen, knowing that I couldn't take care of her myself, which in itself is really challenging, because you have so much guilt around that, because you want to, as a caretaker, like I've always been my whole life, I wanted to be able to make sure that she had the best of care that she could get. And I couldn't do that for her, which was really hard. Before that, I had decided to close my business at 30 years. So I didn't have time to grieve my business, the loss of my business, a new chapter, all of those things. But before I closed my business, I had health issues with allergies, which took me out from behind the chair for a year before I closed my business, which, to be honest with you, at this point in my life was the only part of my business that I still loved. I had become so resentful of my business. It had become so stressful because of COVID. That was right before that. So when you add it all up, COVID, me not able to work, choosing to close my business, 2 months later having to take care of my mother because she was just not able to do it anymore. Then 6 months after that, getting breast cancer and going into treatment and all of the things. So needless to say, it had been a rough 5 years, and I haven't really had time to process all of it. I feel like I'm in the next stage of healing, shall we say. And I met with somebody who is very helpful to me. If she's listening, hi. Julie Costa, who is a hypnotherapist. I spent some time with her doing as what she calls a breakthrough session. I did that probably, I think in January. And that was really helpful. And I reached out to her, and she so graciously is going to support me in what's blocking me right now, which is what the hell do I do next? Right? My world has turned upside down. Everything I've ever known for 40 years, my business and all of that has changed. Cancer changes you forever. You are in no way, shape, or form the same person you were before that. And that's why I say the journey starts when you're in treatment. It doesn't end there. You're trying to sort out your life. You're trying to sort out what's important. You're trying to sort out where to put your very, very precious energy, because it takes a long time to get your energy back. I am just now able to lift weights and be sore like a normal person. And this is just in the last couple months. If I lifted weights before this, and I tried the second I finished treatment to get back to working out and doing it, and it took me out for at least a week. My body hurt so bad. And I don't think that people understand like what chemotherapy does to the body. There's just so much wrapped into it. And it's not about like hyper focusing on it. Like cancer is not my life, but it's part of my life. And I need to recognize the changes in me and my world that came with that. I'm a high achiever, as most of you know. I am only used to being busy 24/7. So I am learning how to sit, how to enjoy the time that I have and not feel like I have to be working or doing something or working on something or going out and changing the world, because that's my thing. I'm going to build something, some kind of empire that's going to change the world. And that's that. And it's going to consume every ounce of my time. So I am trying really, really hard to not do that. And it is very, very challenging for me because I don't know any different. I don't know what it's like to sit. And when I was sitting during chemo, during cancer treatment, it's not the same thing because I was so sick. I couldn't move. And I was literally trapped in that trauma in that moment of just trying to survive, literally. So I'm in this space now and trying to sort it all out, trying to not be everything to everybody, because that's another one of my things. And it's just a learning process. So I guess this podcast is more about it's okay to take a minute. It's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to take things slow. One thing with cancer, I feel like I have to speed my life up. If I don't get it in, I could just be gone someday and I'll be really, really pissed that I didn't get it all in. So I have that sense of urgency that is definitely from the cancer that I'm trying to manage. But at the same time, it's okay to take a minute. So I am taking a minute to finish my book. I'm also starting back up my mentorship with foster youth that are aging out, which is very important to me. And I did that with a local Boston organization for the past 5 or 6 years, involved in panels. I would go into group homes and be on panels, for business. Also was involved in a program that they do where they teach young people who are aging out of the foster care system how to fill out a resume, how to do an apartment application, how to buy a car, how to save money, how to budget, how to balance a checking account, like very basic stuff that every kid needs in school, by the way. So being involved in that is very important to me. So now I'm joining a different thing that they're doing. They're doing an e-mentoring now, which I'm very excited about because I'm in Maine a lot. And so I'll be assigned a one-on-one mentee, mentor. So I just really provide support for them. There's a minimum amount of time that you have to put in every month, minimum amount of communication that you have to put in, and you commit for a year. usually they turn into lifelong connections. So anyways, I'm really excited about that. So trying to balance all of these things together, it's like, what needs to give? I like the podcast. I like doing it. I'm really excited to have guests on to just get some knowledge out there for people. And but I think every other week is going to be better. I'll get over my fear of people forgetting about me. It's amazing how all of this stuff just comes back all the time. It comes back all the time. So what am I doing to help me get through this phase in life? I'm journaling every day. I'm journaling the good, the bad, the ugly. Again, to my family, if you're ever listening, do not read the book with the sunflowers on it. Don't read it. If I'm not here, throw it away, burn it, do whatever you have to do. I'm reaching out for support from, my friend Julie, who's going to try to work on some blockages with me. And I'm very excited about that. I'm getting back into acupuncture so I can take care of my body and, stress and all of those things. Making sure I get adequate sleep, making sure I work out. When you're going through something, I think one of the worst places you can be is on social media. There's so much on there that puts you into comparison mode and puts you into this, like you're just inadequate and you're not doing enough. So to go from this like high achiever person to trying to take a step back from that and then being on social media, again, smoke and mirrors. I'm sorry, because nobody's perfect and everything you see on social media is perfect. And I'm sorry, but if we spent a week in somebody's house, it would not look like their social media page. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And we all have crap. We all have ups. We all have downs. We all have ins. We all have outs. So social media is just crap. And the ones who tell you that if you're not doing something consistently every day, or you're not taking care of yourself the way that they think that you should take care of yourself, that's just bullshit. The important thing in life is figuring out what it is that you need in that moment. And maybe in that moment, it's not working out 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Maybe it is taking a day and scrolling through the TV, not social media. I will say, do not get stuck there. You obviously need to feel something. You obviously need to push through something. Don't get stuck there. So you want to use that one day as a distraction because you don't want to deal? Fine. I will give that to you. 2 days, maybe. 3 days, I'm going to push you a little bit. 4 days, we're getting up, we're getting out. So try, and I struggle myself, try not to get caught up in social media, not getting caught up that if your body doesn't look like somebody else's body, then you're not healthy and you should be doing something different, or, you aren't showing up in pictures that look like you're a 6-figure whatever. It all needs to stop. It all needs to stop and just be real. Just be real. I'm not going to sit here and give you 5 ways that you can fix your life, because we're not here to fix anything. We're here to manage. We're here to get through the day. We're here to do the best that we can. And the best that you can is what is best for you, not what anybody else says is best for you. I am all for getting out of your comfort zone. This podcast has put me out of my comfort zone, and I am all for that. And I do think you should challenge yourself, but not to the point of collapse, not to the point of you paralyzed, where you can't do anything because you're so overwhelmed. So what is the point of this podcast today? The point of this podcast today is that life is real. We are all human, and we are all going to have times in our life where we don't have it figured out and we don't really know what we're doing. I find that this age too, if anybody's listening that's my age, 56 going on 57, and young, right? Young, but yet you're thinking about retirement. You're thinking about what you want to do next. How are you going to do it? What does it look like? And that alone is kind of weird, because you spend most of your life building your life. And then you get to the point where you're like, am I still building? What am I doing? So my thing is I'm torn between going and sitting in the woods for the rest of my life or changing the world. And they both sound amazing to me. So how do you do both? I don't know. I'll let you know. But that's one of the things that I'm working on, making sure that I balance out that time, that rest time, that me time with all the stuff that I want to do. I'm excited about my book. I thought it was really interesting that she told me it would probably take about 6 months. And I said, I don't have 6 months to her. I want it done in 4 months. Cancer has made me believe that I don't have 6 months to wait. I need to get it done now. And I just said to her the other day, I said, did you find it really hard not to say something to me when I said that to you? Because this is definitely not going to be done in 4 months. And the people who have been on this book journey with me for the past 5.5 years, I appreciate you, first off. And second, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I see people come out with books, and this is the hard part for me. This goes into the comparison, social media, blah, blah, blah. I see people that I'm writing a book, boom, and then it's out in 3 months. I'm like, they didn't write that book. ChatGPT probably wrote that book. And my book is my words, my writing, every single bit of it. There's no ChatGPT along. If there's any business people out there, I'm going to talk about ChatGPT for a minute, which is great. I love it. It's an amazing tool. It is so cool. But when you post using ChatGPT, I can tell in a millisecond. Don't let ChatGPT take the heart out of what you do, which is what it does. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I've seen some people posting their ChatGPT prompts from social media, and it's just, I scroll right by it. You can tell when somebody's heart is behind it, their words are behind it. And that's what's so hard with me about the book, is that I can see that people are finishing their book in 3 months, and it's just, I know it's not them finishing their book. But I will keep plodding along, and I will get this book out there. And I know now, working with this book coach, it is going to be a book. It is going to be a readable, flowing, structured, loads of story book. So my friends, again, life is messy. Life can be complicated. Life is fabulous. Life is what we make it. My job right now is to just sit with myself, sort it out as best as I can, and take one day at a time. So this is episode 14, and it's late, and it's okay. And I will see you again in 2 weeks. So thank you, my friends, for being here. I really appreciate you. I love your feedback. I've been getting some amazing feedback. I'm looking forward to getting my guests on here and to sharing knowledge and information and stories with everybody. And thank you for holding space for me and all that I need to do as I'm along this journey with you guys. And thank you so much. And I will see you on the next episode of The Survivor's Chair. Thank you for tuning into The Survivor's Chair podcast. You can head over to my website, www.kimrussellpro.com. That's KIMRUSSELLPRO.com. You can catch up on my blogs. Follow me on social, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or TikTok. All the links will be in the show notes, and I'll see you next time in the Survivor's Chair.